Hello and welcome to another episode of MTG Brewery. As you can tell, I'm not bringing the same kind of decks I normally bring. I'm bringing a four-color deck. It's more of an F&M deck, in my personal opinion, but I really like the F&M decks, as people call them. The casual decks that are just really fun to play with and play against at the casual events. Sometimes competitive events. Some people don't like playing against decks like these. They get mad, but it's just a game. At the end of the day, it's still just a game, and the point of it is to have fun. So this is kind of I'm that kind of guy. These are my kind of decks, and I have really missed making them, and I'm really glad I'm getting back to that, and I'm hoping you guys enjoy it too, because I hope to bring more decks like this to the table. Well, my brother is bringing in more competitive style brews. I'm gonna bring in more casual style brews, and today is a four-color burn deck. So definitely very casual, but we're gonna just go and get right into it because there's not really much explaining to do. We have one Chandra, just to for the grindier matchups, just to being able to get the card advantage when you run out of cards, and an aggro matchup being able to shoot off late game one drops is still really good. So she's really good, especially in this style of deck where we'll run out of cards really fast sometimes, and we need a way to generate card advantage, especially in game one. So she helps with that. Of course, we also have a 4-gutter snipe. Not really much explaining. This is a burn deck. Being able to burn them faster is always good. So he doesn't really take much explaining. We also have 4 Chandra's Phoenix. Also, once again, really self-explanatory. We get it back with the Chandra in our deck. We get it back with all the burn spells. Against aggro, it's going to block multiple times. Against control, it's going to attack as many times until they detention sphere to draw a syncopate for it if they play syncopate. So it's just really good beater. And kind of gives our deck a little more reach in like mid-range where the board will get clogged up and we won't be able to attack in. With our ground guys, what few we do have, including like Young Pyromancer and the tokens he makes, being able to beat through all their ground guys with Chandra Phoenix is really good. Young Pyromancer, just really good against control. He is like a red precinct captain, kind of. He'll make a 1/1 multiple turns in a row with all our burn spells, shoot them for damage, and make a 1/1 in aggro. We're going to shoot a guy and make a 1/1 to block with. Hopefully trade with a guy, not necessary, especially when we're just trying to preserve our life total in the aggro matchup where we're going to be the control role, not the beatdown role like the other two matchups in mid-range and control matchups. We're just trying to be the control and try not to die and stabilize. And that's where Deathrite Shaman comes in. He gives us reach against the control mid-range decks, being able to deal 2 damage consistently every turn if they can't answer him. And then the life gain, which was the main reason to add green lands to the deck in the first place, was really good against aggro, especially when we're like shocking ourselves with shock lands or thought seizing them, taking 2. We just really wanted some source of life gain outside of a burn spell that will be coming up soon. And he's just so good in a deck like this where we're casting spells off both halves. We're killing off creatures, or we're shooting them for damage and just trying to get either life or more damage in, and he'll do those roles perfectly. His land ramp, unfortunately, does not come up very often, if ever. It hasn't come up in this standard since Grizzly Salvage stopped seeing play because Umbrella Rats rotated. But you never know, maybe something's going to come out that will be able to mana ramp with him, which would be very nice, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. So for now, he'll just be dealing damage and gaining us life. Then we have 2 Rakdos returns. Just really good against control decks, especially with even though we only run 22 lands, we have 4 Magma Jets and a bunch of Scry lands. So we can, if we need to, we can hit our land drops. If we don't need to, we can send this to the bottom in like the aggro matchup, where their hand size is not really relevant like it is in the control matchup. And being able to like shoot off a planeswalker and take out an opponent control player's hand is really good if they've like tapped out for like Elspeth or Jace. Like Jace -2, you untap, and if you were on the play, you'll be able to Rakdos return him. Or you could end of turn burn either one of them and then untap Rakdos turn, take out the Planeswalker and several cards in their hand. So it's just so solid in those. Otherwise, it's kind of okay. We don't really want it against aggro because it's not really good. But it's very fine. We're really happy playing it in the main deck. So that's that. And then we have 4 Mizzet Mortars. Really for the aggro and mid-range matchups, really bad in control games. But we want to be able to shoot off early guys, take off early pressure, and mid-range we want to be able to kill the bigger guys. And since Mono Red's so big, Esper has started main decking Blood Barons. So we really wanted a way to answer that, just because gaining 4 life and having protection from um, several of our cards that can actually deal with it, short of 2-for-1ing ourselves. This was a kind of necessary in that matchup, so we have those in there, as well as just being able to like shoot off a bunch of like the mid-range guys. We really needed a way to shore up our mid-range matchup, pretty much. This will also really help with that, so we kept that in. We put it in the deck, you know, just because mid-range is such a hard matchup for this deck, which is odd, but it really is, because we have to 2-for-1 ourselves a lot to kill their bigger creatures, and against Control, Mizamortar is kind of a dead card, but we really needed that shore up, so that's why that's there. We have 3 Thoughtseize, is kind of an all-around good card, especially when we have Deathrite Shamans, and Warleader's Helix is the card that you're about to see. To gain life back, we really wanted a way to interact with our opponent's hands, like take out like the odd main deck Assemble Legions. Some people started main decking those, like the American Control decks, or take out Jace's Elspeths before they hit the board. Mainly Sphinx's Revelation. So that's just all around good card. Not really much need to explain it. We have one more on the board, of course, for the control matchups. Then we have 4 Warleader's Helix, just good in every matchup that we could think of. Gaining 4 life is great against aggro. 4 damage is always good against control and mid-range matchups, especially if we can shoot it at their dome with like a Gutter Snipe in play, or a Young Pyromancer to make a blocker. It's always just such a solid card. We've never really not liked drawing it unless we're just like up against like a Blitz deck. They go 1-drop, 1-drop, 1-drop. Then it's not so good, but we still really wanted it in our main deck because it's so good in all the matchups. So that's why that's there. We have 4 Lightning Strike. Really self-explanatory. 2 mana, 3 damage. That can go to creatures or players, so not much need to explain it. We have 2 Skullcrack because the only thing we really cared about off of a Revelation was the life gain. The card advantage was kind of annoying, but the life gain was the biggest part because we're not dealing a ton of damage off of permanents. We're dealing it off a bunch of instant sorceries as our reach. So if they gain a bunch of life, it makes it so much harder to kill them, especially when they can just answer the few permanents that we'll have on board. So we really needed a way to stop that in our main deck, so we just decided to main deck 2 Skullcracks, not 4 because it wasn't that bad, but we still wanted a way to stop it, which is why it's there. And then we have a 4 Magma Jet. Like I said, it filters, it helps us hit our land drops for Rakdos returns. It helps us filter out cards that are bad, like Skullcracks, and Rakdos returns against aggro decks help us filter through those, being able to draw the cards that we need. So just really solid in our main deck. It gets sideboarded out a lot against control decks, but other than that, which is still fine game 1, you still want it to be able to filter through your bad cards, but it's just really solid all around, and it'll stay in most matchups, so it's really good. Just a really solid 2-drop in our deck. Of course, we have our lands. We're just going to kind of gloss over those. 4 Stomping Ground, 1 Temple, 4 Blood Crypt, 1 Swamp, 2 Mountain, 2 Sacred Foundry, 3 Temple of Triumph, 2 Overgrown Tomb, 1 Godless Shrine, and 1 Temple of Silence, 2 Orders of Gilgate, because we're trying to get the other 2 temples. But other than that, the deck's just really been solid in games. I've really enjoyed playing it, and I know my friends have enjoyed playing against it because it's just so odd. You know, you don't really get to play against decks like this at a competitive level. So being able to play with me, they kind of get good laughs, especially with just some of the odd cards that are played and the odd situations that come up with this deck. So if you really just want to have a good time and go play to have fun instead of going to play to, like, you can still go play to win, but going to play to have fun is more important than you don't want to play like, you play Esper normally, you want to play something different that's not aggro. It's kind of the perfect deck for you to go have fun with, because it's just such a odd, like I said, odd casual deck. It's just really fun to have, and your opponents, especially at like FNMs, they'll normally have a really good time because it's the perfect FNM deck. So we really hope you guys test this deck out, even if you don't think it's going to be taking a competitive end. It's fine with us. We're just really hoping you enjoy it. And that's all we have for our main deck. We're going to go to our sideboard just because we're going to do a versus video this week. So we're just going to kind of go over that. We have our only actual green cards. We have 1 Ruric Thar and 2 Mistcutter Hydra. Ruric Thar and Mistcutter Hydra coming against control, where like Young Pyromancer is not amazing because they may keep in Supreme Verdicts, which if they're smart they will anyway because they may think we sideboard Blood Baron. But Ruric Thar, just being able to slam him and not have to cast burn spells, just attacking them for 6 or making them answer him and take 6, then you can start casting burn spells to finish him off. Really solid in those matchups. Mistcutter Hydra, he's good against the mono blue matchup, and he's good against control because he's haste and they can't counter him. So they have to have an answer for him. And so that's why he's there. We have 4 Sin Collector, just really solid in control matchups, went Hand Disruption. He's actually getting better against aggro decks because they're main decking like Boros Charm or Brave the Elements in the white decks, or in the white-red decks, and like a ton of burn spells or Titan Strength in the mono-red decks. So being able to take a card out and have a blocker, because Lifebane Zombie doesn't really fill that role being double black. We can't cast them consistently. Sin Collector we could. So that's why we have those in there. We have 3 Symbol for the mid-range matchups and the control matchups. You know, mid-range matchups we really needed a way to win without having to have permanents on board, because a lot of our permanents were blockers in most cases, so that we couldn't really get damage through safely. So we have those to just kind of help out with the mid-range matchup, as we've said, it's really bad. We have 1 Chain of the Rocks, it's just catch-all removal, especially in the mid-range matchups. Also comes in against aggro, especially over like the Rakdos return and such. Just a really solid catch-all removal spell, so that's why that's there. We have 1 Glare Heresy, Attention Sphere, Elspeth, Assemble the Legion from opposing decks is really a big deal, one way to answer that. So that's why that's there. We have 1 Thoughtseize. For the control matchups, you know, just being able to catch something out of their hand, really having just more hand disruption. Because that's how you beat a control deck with decks like this, is you kind of rip apart their hand and play your threats. So hopefully we don't just draw all hand disruption and draw some threats to go with it, but that's why that's there. And then we have 2 Wear Terror. Once again, Assemble Legion is really hard for this deck to beat. And then Whip of Airbow, stuff like the Binding of Fast, the things that see play that are kind of really annoying that we want to have answers to. This just kind of catches those cards, and since it can hit artifacts and enchantments, it's really just a solid sideboard card for a deck like ours, where we're not entirely sure what we're going to go up against every time, especially like FNMs like I like to play at. We just kind of want to have a card that can get something since Oblivion Ring rotated. This kind of fills that role almost, so that's why that's there. That's our very fun, very casual 4-color burn deck, and I hope you really enjoyed it, and hopefully we'll see you at the Versus video. Bye!